My dearest sister, if this letter reaches you at all, it will be because someone risked more than they should have. I cannot write where I am. Even the walls seem to listen these days, and paper has a way of traveling farther than the hands that wrote it. Still, I wanted you to know why I stayed when so many others found a way to leave. Do you remember the summer before the occupation, when the cafe near the river still played music in the evenings? It feels like another lifetime. The same streets are here now, but they feel narrower somehow, as if the city itself has learned to hold its breath. People speak more quietly. Even the church bells sound hesitant. You would laugh to hear what my life has become. Before the war, the heaviest thing I carried was a tray of plates. Now some days it is a folded slip of paper tucked into the seam of my coat or beneath the cardboard in my shoe. The messages never look important. That is the point. A few names written like groceries, a time disguised as a delivery note, sometimes just a scrap of paper with nothing but a number, which means everything to the right person and nothing to anyone else. We do not call this bravery. It is simply what is left to do. The Germans patrol the station more heavily now. Last week, when I boarded the early train, a Feldgendarme stood near the carriage door, his metal gorget hanging from his neck like a policeman's badge, though colder somehow. He kept tapping it with his fingers as he watched us pass, as if reminding everyone what it meant. The compartment smelled of damp wool and smoke. No one spoke. People have learned that silence is safer than curiosity. Even so, there is always that moment when the train slows and you wonder if someone will shout your name, if boots will step into the aisle, if your pockets will be turned out in front of everyone. They did not stop me that day. I was told to leave the train one station early and walk the rest. The fields were stripped for winter, the soil hard as iron underfoot. Somewhere far off, I heard the engine of a German truck, and every sound felt too loud, even the wind in the hedges. You start to notice small things when you live like this. Which houses still have shutters open, which farms keep their lights burning too late, which dogs bark at strangers and which stay quiet because their owners are afraid to draw attention. The farmhouse I was sent to looked ordinary enough. That is how it must be. A woman opened the door, her hands red from the cold, and for a moment we only looked at each other. Then she spoke the phrase I had been told to listen for. Only then did I give her the message. She did not read it in front of me. That would have been careless. Instead, she slipped it into the pocket of her apron, as if it were nothing more than a receipt. We sat for a moment at the table, and she poured what passes for coffee now, roasted barley, bitter and thin but warm. It tasted better than I expected. For a few minutes, we spoke about the weather, about nothing at all. That, too, is part of the work, to look like people who have nothing to hide. Before I left, she gave me a small piece of bread wrapped in cloth. I knew what it must have cost her to spare it. Bread is not something people give away lightly anymore. I did not refuse it. You ask in your last letter if I am afraid. Of course I am. Anyone who says otherwise is lying to themselves. I have seen too many doors broken open at dawn, too many neighbors vanish overnight, their apartments emptied before anyone dares ask why. But I have also seen something else. I have seen people who refuse to pretend this is normal. Railway workers who slow trains by just enough to matter, clerks who stamp papers a little too slowly, priests who remember names they are not supposed to know. It is strange to realize that history does not always arrive with a trumpet or a banner. Sometimes it moves quietly, carried in coat seams and whispered in kitchens. If no one carried these messages, If no one walked these roads, nothing would change. That is what keeps me going when the fear tries to take hold. If you do not hear from me for some time, do not assume the worst. Silence often means the work is continuing. And when this ends, because it must end, I dream only of small things, sitting with you again at that cafe by the river, hearing music through open windows, pretending for an evening that the world has forgotten how to be cruel. Until that day, know that I carry your memory with me on every road I take. Your brother, Etienne,